So outputting the variables in strings. There are three different techniques we can use to output the variables in strings, right? The first technique is using a listing method, using these commas to separate the string or separate the variable. And this is, as you can see here, the first uh, part or the first parameter, the second one, and the third one. Or we can use the second technique, concatenation. You can use in the dots, um, or even you can actually use a embedded method of using a double quote without having commas or concatenation points. Um, but we need to be careful if you use this third embedded method. Actually, the preferred method is the listing method. The reason is, for example, in this case, so imagine that we have a small script with a for loop. So here, a for loop, we'll come to that later on, the loops and all these what if statements, etc, etc. But for a while, to understand the concept, so I'm using a for loops. Now here I declared a variable and I assign the value 0, and I increase the value by 1, but up to less than 10. But in this case I'm echoing a paragraph including this variable plus I want to add some 1 to the variable in the loop, right? So this will give you generate an error message, right? Because of this. So so in order to overcome this, we can use the first technique, or the listing technique, to make sure that it separated by a commas, so it actually treated as a separate argument. Yeah, so as mentioned before, when we outputting the values, we need to be a bit careful about the single and the double quotes in this case. You can see here, now in this case, use the double quotes, and then I include the variable name, right, with concatenation symbol here. In this case, it will actually displays the value contained in this variable. But in this case, I'm using a single quote rather than using double quote. What it will happen is it will actually display the text, this text, not the value inside that variable, right? So if you have any doubt as before, or like this kind of doubt, when to use double quotes, when to use single quote, so what you can do is you can actually stick with the listing method. So that means you are echoing part by part by separating comma, right? So it will be easier to understand, right? Right now we are coming to PHP constants, right? In the constants are actually like variables, except that once they are defined, they cannot be changed or undefined, right? That's what we mean by the constants, right? Constants in PHP, a constant is an identifier, or we can call it as a name for a simple value. The value cannot be changed during the script, right? A valid constant name start with a letter or underscore, so make sure that you don't use $sign before the constant name, right? Otherwise it will become a variable, right? So unlike variable, constants are automatically global across the entire script. It's not local, it's global. It's global across the entire script, right? So in order to create a constant, we use the define function, right? So the syntax is this, right? Define, we define the um, um, we specify the name of the constant, and then we it should be include the inside the double quote, and then we specify the value of that constant. Now in this case, max value we assign 5, right? So this is the method 1. The method 2 is we can use the const keyword, right? So const max value equal 5, right? That's also possible. So we can declare it using const keyword. So now remember, so in this method, the value can be a text string, number, or boolean value, right? True or false. Boolean means true or false, right? But if you use the const method, cannot be declared inside the function, loops, if statements, or try catch block. So we'll come to that later on. And there are some numerous PHP predefined constants that we can use in our scripts, like PHP int max function. So we'll do that later on. Okay. So here is an example. Here I am defining a constant called max element. So it's in a global in scope, right? The constants usually. I assign number 8, right? And then I can use that constant name, yeah, and do some other useful calculations, something like that. So here I'm outputting the output the value of I, and then plus 1. Now remember, I'm using the listing method here, single quotes, and the rest is double quotes. Okay. Constant naming, so suggesting naming style, you can use the uppercase characters, or with the uppercase plus, with the this or with the underscore. Now from these two, which one of the following is a constant? Probably the second one, not the first one, right? Because the first one starts with the dollar sign. It's a variable, not the constant, right?